Oh my God, that is funny!
Hi guys, and welcome to another Cartoon Galaxy rant, where I like to rant about, well, cartoons. Now today is going to be a super short video covering the new Velma show that released on HBO. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't sure I even wanted to do this video, since after the release of the Velma teaser trailer back in October of 2022, I no longer had any intention of watching the show, where before the trailer came out, I was willing to actually give it a chance. But since I have already done 2 videos covering Velma before its release, I figured it'd only be fair if I talk a bit about it since the show just dropped. And I ain't just talking about the ratings. No, but really, I'm just going to be covering more about audiences' reactions and what this means for all of us Scooby fans out there. So, as I mentioned earlier, I did not want to watch the show. And I even asked you guys in a poll if you would want to watch this show, and majority of you said you'd rather watch paint dry. Perfect, I love it. But yeah, my thoughts on checking this show out were completely diminished the moment the Velma teaser trailer was released. I refused to watch a show that took its time to make a trailer to berate Scooby-Doo fans. And I'll be honest, this was the first time I've ever seen anyone use this as their means of promoting a show. Setting a show for a target audience, but making a trailer to mock said audience? Who in their right mind okayed that idea? Who? So that alone already was a red flag for me, that this show was not meant for fans of the franchise, which seems really odd when the show is totally okay with carrying the franchise name to, you would think, attract fans of this franchise. It feels almost as if the show was made in malice, than providing any kind of respect or appreciation for Scooby-Doo. And it also feels as though the show had intentions of just on fans, as if there was just some deep disdain for them or something. You could see more of what I mean in my last Velma video. The link is above if you'd like to check it out. But yeah, these were my reasons to not watch this show. And for the brave souls that did give this show a chance, I'm sure you have more to share than I do. So please feel free to leave your comments and thoughts below. And if you like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. So I won't be covering the show in its entirety since, yeah, I admittedly didn't watch it, but I did see some clips from the show online. I have seen a few things of people doing some quick watch throughs, and that gave me some insights about what came out. I've also seen the newer Scooby-Doo trailer that was released a few days ago before the release of the show itself. So yeah, this did give me a good idea of what was, well, in the show. But that's all I can really address. Now, I could be wrong, but from the clips I've seen, the characters are all wrong. And when I mean wrong, I mean in terms of how they act. Shaggy, or as they call him in the show, just Norville, is in no way like the Shaggy that we know from, the original Scooby-Doo show. Shaggy, the original Shaggy, is usually very doofy and he loves food. This character, this Norville guy, doesn't seem like he checks those marks at all. Nor did this Norville character, this new Shaggy, show any sign of cowardice, which is one of the original Shaggy's MOs. This newer Shaggy seemed to be on par with Velma with the mystery solving, which is really contradictory to old Shaggy, who I know wants to get as far away from any mystery and danger as possible. Also, Velma show Shaggy, Norville, seems to be infatuated with Velma, even willing to give up a kidney, I believe, to get her to date him. Comment below if I'm wrong about this, but I swear I saw a clip on this and I just thought, what the hell? Daphne, the new Daphne, seems to be a stuck-up popular girl that Velma falls in love with. And the new Fred, oh God. Let's just say they did my boy Fred dirty. What did they do to you, Fred? What did they do? Fred is depicted as a wealthy, narcissistic individual who is so full of himself, he only wants hot girls. And we can't forget, he has a small wee-wee. Because again, from clips I've seen, it seems to be mentioned more than once, as if we didn't know the first time when it was brought up. Listen, I know Fred isn't the most popular character out of the four, though I can say I've seen some people who do adore him. Either way, though, this depiction of Fred is just foul. These teenage sleuths in this Velma show, if they're supposed to represent Scooby-Doo, they're supposed to be a team. And all it seems is that these sleuths, or whoever they are, they just hate each other or don't give a crap about each other, unless they want to share tongue for a little while or something. But that's about it. I mean, give me a break. Now, let's see how audiences reacted to this. As of the making of this video, IMDb reveals that the show received a 2.3 out of 10. And Rotten Tomatoes scored a 7% with audiences and 53% with critics. Yikes. Now, I know shows and films have had the usual divide amongst audiences and critics, usually with audiences hating a show and critics praising it, or vice versa. But audiences plain hated this show, and the critics' review also astonished me. Usually I'd see them give shows like a 90% or an 80% when audiences' scores are low, and there are a few occasions when critics and audiences have almost the same scores on things, but a 53% was interesting to me. There was nearly a divide down the middle. Now granted, having a percentage does give us a great idea of how much people hated this crap or thought it was okay, but let's just take a look-see at the comments. Let's see people's reasoning behind their dislike or like, because this will speak perhaps far more volume than any opinion I can give, because these folks actually sacrificed a piece of their precious life and time and money to see this garbage. So let's see what they have to say. And no, I'm not going to look at the folks who are just like, this show sucked, or my eyes, oh God, why? I'm not even kidding about that last one. That's actually a comment. And although funny, it doesn't really tell me why their eyes were in perpetual pain. But here are some comments that I think give a good idea of the issues with the show. First, I'd like to show the critics' reviews, and then I'll get into the audiences. So here are some critic takes. To be fair, I'll start with a positive one. Velma boasts a well-structured narrative with jokes, suspense, interconnected plot lines, and evolving relationships, instead of a case of the week format and various monster antics. Okay, fair enough. Breaking away from a case of the week thing isn't so bad, I suppose. Now let's get a balance. What's a negative take by one of these critics? So here's another one, and it says, it's been done before and much better, using unique takes on the gang that maintain their essence. So Velma is never as groundbreaking as it seems to think it is. More than that, these characters are just really unpleasant to spend time with. Okay, also a fair take. Sure, it's not the simple 60s formulaic thing, but it loses who the gang are. So, another good opinion. And this opinion here, this is actually one of my favorites. Simple and to the point. Too much meta humor, not enough heart. Well said. Now, let's see the audience's opinions, which honestly I think should hold more merit since they are the ones the show is meant for. So here's the first one that I'd like to share. Had to make an account just for this. This should be studied for exactly what not to do in any prequel, rendition, or spin-off. You don't have to stay entirely true to source material, but you can't just toss it out the window and make the show whatever you want, jumping off the already laid rails of decades of its history. Expect this to crash just like any train that goes off the rails. Kind of like that comparison, trains and rails, pretty neat. Anyway, but exactly, yeah, some differences can be added, but by the looks of the show, they just made the characters something else. You can't even say they are the original Scooby Gang in any way. They should have just made a totally different show. Here's another comment. It wasn't great at all. The storyline is not on par with what I grew up watching, and unfortunately canceled my HBO subscription because of this show. Not enjoyable and honestly not worth anybody's time. I would recommend canceling all HBO subscriptions, as this is not something I believe in and the show is not enjoyable. Horrible. Couldn't agree more with that last one. You know, it is funny that when so many of these horrible shows come out, like on Netflix and HBO Max, we comment and say how much we hate it, but still watch and keep the subscription service. This guy makes a valid point. If we truly want these kind of garbage shows to stop coming out, we need to speak with our wallets and cancel our subscriptions. Perhaps find other services that will offer us better content. Otherwise, this kind of trash is just going to keep on coming, and it's not going to end. Well, I guess I'm up to the conclusion part of this video. See, told you this video was going to be pretty short, but I hope it was insightful. Granted, I know right now there are several other channels covering this topic too, so I don't know, maybe I hope it's somewhat insightful and you got something from it, or maybe I'm just saying the same kind of stuff as everybody else, I don't know. But yeah, overall, people didn't like Velma. And if this remains to be the case, this show won't air for long. I highly doubt it. Sounds like the major issue that wasn't Scooby-Doo. That's the main problem that people are addressing, is that the show really isn't Scooby-Doo. And again, looking at the teaser trailer, it makes it very evident that it wasn't intended for fans of Scooby-Doo. Which kind of defeats the purpose of the show if you think about it. It was an entirely different show with different characters, bearing the names of the characters we know from the original Scooby-Doo franchise. So just these new characters, new personalities, Scooby-Doo names stamped all over them. That's how I would describe it. The show also fails to use humor properly, at least this is from what I see from comments and so forth, making the humor perhaps too excessive or a central piece to whatever's happening in the show. And again, I can only assume this. And the humor is excessive instead of balancing it out with something more fulfilling. Like maybe having more of a focus on characters that we can relate to, a world you could see yourself in, a story that you can really be interested in. Instead it sounds like we got characters that are unlikable. I notice a lot of people keep addressing that they're not like Scooby-Doo characters, and on top of that, they are unlikable. And that's a big problem, because when you have main characters, they need to be likable. If you do not like the main characters, it's going to be very hard to follow along. Unless you're the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's one of the few shows I know that can take unlikable characters and make it work. But for a Scooby-Doo show, that it just doesn't work because people are expecting to see the Scooby Gang. And the Scooby Gang is charming and, you know, they're a team. So, yeah, it's just not going to work out. Maybe they wanted to make them sort of unlikable because of the fact that one of the actors who's doing the voice of Fred isn't Always Sunny. So they're like, oh, well, maybe we'll play it along to that. Yeah, that's not a good reason to go with that kind of direction. In short, Scooby-Doo was a show that was and still is loved and cherished for a reason. It had heart behind it despite its simplicity, and so did the gang and Scooby. They were close friends who loved solving mysteries together and had some qualities we could relate to or get behind or laugh along with. This new show, although trying to be more complex, clever, and funny, still failed to get the same reaction as the original, and for good reason. They lost the heart behind what made the original show great. It's like a new skin without a soul. Scooby-Doo had soul and characters to be admired. These, whatever the hell they are just empty husks pretending to be something they're not, searching for cheap laughs. They will never be the show Scooby-Doo was. They will never be the Scooby-Doo I know and that you guys know. They're more like the monster unmasked, fake, and despite aiming to selfishly gain something, fails bitterly at the end. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Share your thoughts below because I'd love to hear them. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and peace out.